thank you so much for like being with me on a Friday, or if it's tomorrow and you're like Saturday, that's your vibe, or maybe it's next week and you're watching this with the kiddos. Like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing too. Going through some of these sessions with your students and letting them see some ways they can use Mote. Britt mentioned I teach too in a library, and I have library science students, and their job is also to get familiar with tech. So one of the first things they do is they hop onto Mote and start learning how to use it and get these really cool ideas. And it's made me so awesome. I get to tell about my friends, like, oh my gosh, Jennifer shared this. Oh, we're going to watch my buddy Isaac. Like, it's amazing. So blessed for everyone that's here. So let's get going here. Motivating minds, connections, and belonging. There's all kinds of these cool things to do. And you're going to hear it in every single session, but like, there's nothing like making those connections like voice. And we always hear like, oh, well, that message, that email, I don't know if it came across right. Well, I meant this, but it could be perceived this way. Well, once you hear the voice, it's like, you know, like, you can figure out right now whether or not I'm happy or bummed that I'm here. Like, oh my gosh, I was asked to do this thing. I have to show up. You know, like it comes across in our voice. And it helps you build these connections because automatically we start seeing similarities of what we're dealing with. So here's a few fun gifts from a fabulous movie. Go ahead in the chat and just drop in how you're feeling right now. We're doing this a lot during COVID. And just because COVID is, well, it's not like over, but you know, because we're back at school doesn't mean we still don't need these check-ins and people still don't need love. So go ahead and do, if you're feeling the 1, 2, and I got the chat hopping up on my other device here so I know who's with me. Got some 4s, okay, some other things. And that's really cool. People still need to be checked in like, oh, you do care about me? Well, not to be like critical, and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. I absolutely promise. But if this is where it stops, that's not much. Like, oh, we got a lot of 5s, or everyone's somewhere else. Like, good to know. I don't see it's you yet. Maybe you haven't started school yet. Okay. Now, if we do this, but the response is a Mote. What? Okay, so knowing that I have like a 5, okay, fine. But knowing why I have a 5 is another layer of that information. And then hearing their voice explaining with the emotion behind it, that's even a deeper level of understanding and a better way that I can go ahead and connect with my student. And it's so simple. I'm just asking them to tell me why. But that message to my student, to my teachers, whoever I'm working with, is that I care. Like, I want to know what's going on in your life and why and what's really happening. So as we're doing this, they're really telling part of their story. And that's how we build community. And if you've noticed, as you get to know people, it's really hard to like be mean to them. Like, you might be like, there's always that one teacher like, oh my gosh, they leave work all the time. Their kids get let out early and blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't believe that. If I did that, I would get in trouble. I'm doing like an extreme example of someone. But you get to know that person and find out like their mom is in special care and there's an issue with the nurse, and there's these 5 minutes between when technically she's supposed to let her students out versus when the mom will have care, and there's this lap of time. And so she has to leave early to make that happen. And even has permission from the principal. Like, that's none of my business, but we're like judging, but we don't know the story. So we hit pause and like, just get to know each other. Like, yeah. And that passion, oh my goodness. Like, if we're not passionate about what we're doing, like, please stop doing it. You're giving the rest of us a bad rap. No, but why we're sharing and like, all that we are like matter. And I'm in my first week. We started Wednesday, but I'm talking to my students like, you deserve respect. So there's something we're doing. Like, you can totally ask me about it. Like, don't question like, oh, I don't understand why we're doing this. You're like, ugh. Like, that's going to irritate me. But you're welcome to go ahead and have this conversation because you deserve respect. Not even because you're a nice person, but because you breathe air on this planet with me. Like, we belong to each other. And having that reminder, like, that just shifts everything. And I want to be part of a positive culture and environment anyways. Like, I've actually never talked to anyone that's like, oh, hey, I want to make sure my environment is totally negative. So how do I do that? Like, there's not a session here about that. I don't think there's one anywhere. So extra bonus here, all these other things. And even like English teachers. And I'm going to call her out. She knows who she is. I have English teacher like Bestie, and she doesn't read. And we'll not read an email like past 2 sentences, but TLDR, totally. But if I send her a voice message, yeah, now she's got it. And we're all like that too. We're busy, and our students, how they're getting information, and it just helps. So like, here's someone, we can get right to it. And here's just some examples of what some feedback loop looks like in Google Classroom. And so what I wanted to like hit with this too is just if you're like on the fence about Mote, it really works. It works with everything, it does, but it works remarkably seamlessly in the Google environment. So this is taken from Google Classroom, and I'm just right there giving the messages, and I can type fast because I went to school many, many moons ago where typing was a class. I can do my keyboard without looking, and the kids think I have like some extra voodoo magic powers, but I can still talk faster. You're like, yeah, I know you talk fast because you've been listening to me for a few minutes, but I can still talk, but I'm going to get more across in my verbal message than I am in a typed message. Same thing like when I'm doing feedback with a student. I'm not just going to be like, hey, work on this thing, or you can make this better. I'm going to go ahead and it just happens. And I'm not the only one. When we're speaking, we provide more information, even if that's not our original intent. And that extra information is what's super, super helpful. But I want us to look at this at another direction too. So like, yes, teacher feedback is amazing, making sure we're doing that feedback during. But to do this Mote feedback loop, let's go ahead and like, let it be peer feedback as well. They can have conversations and improve their work, and they actually should be doing that before I look at it. Like, you can think about your students right now, even if you haven't got to know them yet this year, or if you want to think about last year's, like how much do they care what you think about their work versus how much do they care what their peers think about their work? Totally different scenario. And we're going to do things differently because of our audience. So doing this peer feedback also gives us some more authenticity to what they're actually doing. These are my babies. Okay. Yeah, sorry. How about like look at this and laugh. And I'm so glad that they still like care about each other. They really do. But okay, I love this picture. And it's not just to showcase that like I have these wonderful children, but if I had voice of this moment, this would be more powerful. And they're going to get older and their voice changes. And I just want to be able to have that. I got emotions. So having that voice like gets across more stuff. A picture says so much, and you can see and their smiles and what's going on. And Big Brother is definitely leveraging the Big Brother. That's very clear. But I would love to be able to hear them as well and have that memory that way. So we're still talking about those connections and a sense of belonging. Well, belonging is that you're safe to be who you are no matter what. You're not having to fit in. You're not having to change who you are, hoping to be accepted. And we're not dealing with acceptance. We're not dealing with tolerance. That's like, I dislike you, but I won't punch you. Like, no. We're going to go further than that and really try to get that belonging where I value you because of who you are. And your uniqueness is something that's a treasure. So even having them use Mote to get across what are your worries and what are your wonders. And that's such a simplistic question, but like we get deep with that. Like what's really going on? The responses are heavy is what I'm getting at. And it also opens up so many opportunities for further discussion. And you can decide what layer you want this at. Maybe it's in an interactive slide deck and they can listen to each other and do comments. Like I mentioned, it's so seamlessly with its integration. So once you have Mote installed, and it still will work for someone to listen to it. If it's not installed, it's just easier if it is. So get that taken care of if you haven't yet. But when you open the comment thing, there's still that gorgeous purple. Like purple's a great color, right? Oh, there's that lovely purple circle that has the M, and they can just go ahead and just click that and do their Mote, get that voice out and answer these questions and share that with each other if they want. And having a back and forth journal with your students, or maybe it's the teacher. And I get this looks different grade levels. Like I'm not doing a teacher journal when I had 250 students. That's absolutely not happening. So I'm not saying like do this, but just giving these examples. And I'm not saying because you only have 30, you have to do it. But just think about this. Some other examples. If you have most of us have journals of some sort anyways, and there's communication. And maybe it does stay mostly written, but it can also be voice. And another cool thing about voice, some days that hair is just not quite rocking the way it should. So we don't have that stress. It's just my voice. It can be you any time of day, but like you're still being able to like build that connection, letting the teacher have some insight with the student and having that conversation. If you want to do it with a parent and student, or that doesn't make sense, sorry. Yeah, parent, student, and the teacher, you could have that going on and build a community that way. And when parents know we care about their students, it is just a whole extra layer of magic, and it doesn't take much. See, Britt, I told you it's coming. Okay, so I think you heard her talk about this a little bit. I had never met Britt, like didn't even know who she was. Everyone come on scene. This is your moment if you want. Okay, so she's my host. Like, yay, thank goodness. She's a nice, wonderful, fabulous person. All the hosts are. But to introduce herself and talk to me a little bit, she sends me this email, and I get this fabulous note that I can just like click to hear her voice. And right away, I was convinced she cared about me. This woman has done nothing for me, nothing to me, don't know who she is, but because of her voice and the message I was able to get, I'm 100% sure that she cares about me. And I was just like, that's nice. Like, so I'm not trying to be cheesy at all, but there really, really is extreme power of the voice and building those connections. A kiddo is absent. What do we do? Like, oh, so-and-so's absent again. They're probably still sick. Okay, I know what they're doing. Oh, they're absent, blah, blah, blah. No. They're absent for a day, maybe. Okay, but 2 days, send a message. Super easy. Like, click that Mote button, send it. You can get the link into an email, send it out, however it is you want to do. And you can even have a message coming from their friends in the class for someone, or maybe it's the whole class. So you got a darling that's like sick. Like last year I did this with one of my, we were kind of obnoxious to her. She moved far away, like out of the district, and her sister was in charge of driving, but the sister would not get up in the morning. So this darling was always late. So it was like, we didn't know if she was late, if she was sick, or what was going on. So a group of us went ahead and sent her a message. It wasn't just my voice. It was also her friends in the class, her peers, saying like, hey, we miss you. And what that does, it's like, hey, we noticed you're not here. Hey, you're important. Hey, you're valued. Hey, we're happy to have you back. Hey, we hope you get back soon. Like all of these sub things happen just because you sent this simple little like 15-second message. Like, hey, noticed you were gone, blah, blah, blah. You know, don't just say blah, blah, blah. Actually have some words there. But yes. So if you're like, but how do I do this and manage everything? Because I've got a lot of students. I'm so glad you all asked. So I like using just a sheet to organize things. And here's just a piece of mine that you can look at. And I sometimes use different apps, like different apps work for different things. So I can have a generic message too that I send out to darlings that I need to send them a message. So this is all voice going on. So I've got like there, absent 3 days, it's an email plus it's a Mote because I just wanted to like double check, make sure with everything there. But what's going on there? And some of them I can leave more generic, especially if I don't know them yet, or if it's early in the school year, like I can still care about them without getting to know them yet. But some of these places, like I don't have like a direct link because I already know I'm going to make it be super personable, like the peers one. That's going to be a unique one every time. But because I have this sheet, when I look at my communication plan with my students, I can see that because like when my brain was all together, I know if a kiddo is sick, I have a purpose and I need to make a Mote to do this thing. And I can go ahead and get that taken care of. Okay, so in the chat, go ahead and just like drop something. It can be an idea you have that's going to help further build connections in your class with your students that help get to that sense of belonging. Maybe you have a comment or a thought based on something I said, like, oh, you want to build on something too, because like everyone in the audience, like I'm seeing it. I can't keep up with it, chat. You guys are amazing. So many great things there. So like get some more ideas so we can continue to like learn and grow with each other. It's amazing. I love the idea of students seeing Mote goals for their annual evals from Isaacs. Thank you. That's super awesome. Okay, Jennifer, students like knowing that we thought of them. Yeah, I do too, like we all do. And don't forget about your teachers. The one down the hall, even that grumpy one, they still have a heart. Send them a message. It's so powerful. I love doing Monday meetings. Like I really get excited about Monday. It's like, yes, I can am that person. I'm not making it up because I'm like, Mondays are new beginnings and you have like new goals. Like even if last week was like a hot mess, like I shared a little bit of my week, like it's not going anywhere near I wanted. And I got this nice fancy lesson planner. Krista put together this fabulous one that's focused for librarians, and I love it. And I was like, I waited to write in it because I didn't want to cross things out. Well, yeah, my whole first week is already different, but it's okay. Mondays are still like that nice fresh start. Like, okay, what are my new goals here? I got this. And so having that meeting though too with my students, so if I have someone out, I really want to make sure they get brought into the circle somehow. So I can send them about like, hey, here are some things that were brought up. Would love to know your thoughts. If they're absent for like whatever reason, they can respond with the Mote, super simplistic. If you stay in the Google land, it's even easier for them to respond because it's a click push of a button. And then Friday reflection, still like circling up in person, but like talk about like how things went and whatnot. And we have that. But again, if someone like missed, we can go ahead and have that Mote. And then what's really cool, if you got like a lot of students, you know, like more than 10, like most of us do, you can have them do this in groups and then make a group Mote, like collectively of all of them. So then you can like listen to that later and like, okay, really see what's going on. And then the Friday reflections like that, what I love listening to that later about, it helps me then plan for my next week. Okay, what did they think went well? What do they want more time on? What really stood out to them? And that's super insightful and great information for the teacher to be able to go forward with the next step. The bit.ly was shared at the beginning. And Britt, if you want to drop that link in there again for people, thank you. Our shared story, this is designed in Wakelet and Mote integrates with Wakelet too. So I've got it set up with the sections like somebody wanted so, but then, and they can go ahead and just like have Motes to tell that story that they're creating. And you can have it set up to where it's a carousel rotation. I would not like rotate the computers, let the kiddos get up and they rotate to the next spot and they can go ahead and discuss their story, that next little piece, and then go on. And like, well, why would I use Mote? Why wouldn't I just have them type? Well, have you not been listening? You say more stuff when you're talking. And if it's real important that I need them to write, we can go ahead and do that. We can go back and forth, but the power of the story is the voice that comes out. And sometimes our voice doesn't come out right away when we're writing, whether it's typing or like pen to paper. So hearing it helps us prepare for the written part. Okay, so I told you I like Mondays. So here's something I was working on with my kiddos, and this is just a quick like getting to know you thing. So I've got my group, and here is a table and a slide deck. So it's super easy. They can just click and bam, go. So they have their prompts. There's no names listed up here. It's okay. I know what group this is, and they're going to have a conversation to figure out who is who. So the top, they were just tasked with an image of their favorite animal, because that's easy. And that lets me know some more stuff about them. And underneath, they have the Mote answering the question. Like, what? And then they'll start seeing some similarities with each other with the type of animals, or like, that gets exciting. And then what I like about having this twofold, this is so great I get to share this with you because it was like new information. Like, what? See, the kiddo doesn't have his Mote yet, but I can tell they started working. So sometimes even like to get talking, there might be a little bit like, oh, I'm not sure to like speak yet. But this lets me know that, okay, they're there, they're thinking, they're almost there with me. I love the 3 C's, a compliment, connection, a comment, or we're looking at stuff, whatever it is. The kiddos create a poster, they create an infographic, they create a video, come back with these 3 C's and let that be their Mote response and that feedback. Super powerful. Motes for affirmations were not difficult, like just a little bit of like, yeah, you're on the right track, or like, yes, you're where you belong, or yes, I'm so glad you're here. Those affirmations go a long way. And all of this is that connections for that positive impact of learning and growing with each other in this space that we share. So there's some contact information. I'm on most socials, sticking with Katie J. McNamara. I know everything's wonky in that world, but you've got choices. Email, Discord, and Voxer are more personal in a more closed environment. Blue Sky is, yeah. If you want more about that, you can let me know.